two-part video. First part is how to remove sticky residue off
from a Bobo patch job.
From a Bobo patch job that got you down the road so mosquitoes didn't come in, using duct tape. Second part is how to replace the screen the proper way when you have the time to actually do it. So, to get sticky residue off, you use lemon oil, and you just take the frame, put a dab of lemon oil on it, let it soak in, and then use a paper towel. Give it a few seconds after you rub the lemon oil into the sticky residue, and then you just take it. And I'm using my nail at the edge of the paper towel here. And it comes right off.
Jeremiah.
After you get the brunt of it off,
Don't open that door.
One more dab of lemon oil, just to remove the excess stickiness.
Yes, opening that door.
And nice and clean frame. Right now I am re-straightening the frame of the screen because when you have toddlers and 4-year-olds, they tend to get bent up. So before I start, I'm just making sure everything's nice and square. Nice soft movements. You don't want to crease the frame because then the backside where the groove is will get pinched and then the screen won't go in properly. So the frame might not ever be perfectly straight because, you know, metal warps. So now I've got my frame mostly straight, and I'm gonna start taking out the rubber that goes into the groove to hold the frame in. First, you want to find where the rubber is cut, and it looks like it's right here in the corner.
Wait, let me get a super close up.
There's a little tiny gap in the rubber, or the screen holder is not connected there. And where's my knife? There it is. So I take a knife or a fine tipped edge, and just alongside the rubber and the frame, you kind of just wiggle it in and pry out the screen holder. Once you get enough to where you can grip it, you gently pull it out. Careful not to break it, especially if it's a 30-year-old frame like our RV is. And then just little bit by little bit, making sure you're grabbing at the frame to pull. If I pulled up here, this would stretch, and then my screen holder would be longer than it was to start with.
Making a lot of noise up there.
Yeah, it happens. So, the screen holder is completely out. You'll notice where the corners are, it's got a crease. And you'll want to make sure you get this corner back in the corner, otherwise it will do that and bust. So, our screen should come right out now. Ball it up, throw it away from your wife, not at her. And whenever you're cutting the new screen, you want to leave it just past the outside of the frame. That way you have enough excess whenever you're pushing the screen into the groove, it does not shrink and you lose your screen. And then what I do is I'll use the frame as a guide. And this is no science, you just want to cut excess. You'll trim it after you get it all in. Just like if you were wrapping a Christmas present.
Aw, that's a sweet analogy for this time of year.
So now I got my screen and my empty frame. It's better if you see how it rolls. It's better if you put the rolling downward, that way it's not curling up on you as you're doing it.
Hey, I hope you don't think this is my Christmas present though.
Of course it is. She's been asking for this to be done now about a year.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, Texas.
Oh my gosh, there's been duct tape on these windows for so long.
Alright, so the thing, whenever you use an old screen holders, you want to make sure you get your corners back aligned, and before you start, you find the corners, and then you start with the edge, and you make sure your screen has plenty of excess, and this is where I started pulling out from. So this is where I'm going to start. Before I get going, I look all around the screen, and I've got plenty of overlap. And then I'm going to take my screen tool. It's got a grooved edge and a straight edge. The grooved edge is good for whenever you're using circular rubbers. The straight edge is good whenever you have triangular. So this one I'm using the straight edge, and I'm just gonna start it. Maybe. Sometimes to start it, it's good to use the flathead. That way you can really press it down in there and make it stay. So now I've got my edge started, and I'm going to come back with my roller. And it takes a little bit of pressure to push it in real good. Let's flip it around. Well, once you get it going, they tend to just roll right in. And while you're rolling the screen holder in, you want to make sure you keep your screen tight so it doesn't bunch on you. Well, 30 years old can cause the rubber parts to get firm, and sometimes you just have to use a little bit more force or a flathead screwdriver to really get it in there. Whenever you're at the corners, you got to be careful not to break your corner. And what will happen is, because these are going this way, your screen holder will turn sideways. So you'll need to make sure that it's facing the right way. And then before I press the corner in, I press just after the corner. And then I'll come back and press that corner in. So now we're going to start pulling our screen nice and tight while keeping our rubber going into the groove. Looks like I'm gonna have to continue this project with just a flathead because the rubber has gotten so firm that the roller is not able to push it in. But it's no big deal. It just takes a little longer. Alright, I'm going to continue putting the screen in, and I'll catch back to you once we get it all in. So we've got the screen completely in. You can't see it because it's nice and tight. And that'll keep out all the mosquitoes and look good. You'll see we still have some excess here that we have to trim off, which what I was talking about. That gives you plenty of room to get the screen in without having to double work. So now we're just going to use scissors and we're going to trim it about 1/8 to 1/4 inch away from the screen holder.
Oops, sorry, babe. I was distracted by your gorgeous face.
That way, if you have kids like us who cannot avoid touching the screen and it pops out, you can always put it back in without having to redo it. So you just take a nice pair of scissors and trim right along it. And as you can see, I've got about 1/8 to 1/4 inch there.
Let me see if I can get the angle so you can see.
That will give me, probably can't see it because it's black on black, but this will give me plenty enough room to put the screen back
Oh,
in
you can
if
see
I have
it,
to.
like sticking up a
Right.
little bit right here. Maybe if I. That's how much he's leaving behind. If you don't have kids, you might consider cutting it down tight. But if you do have kids, there's no issue at all with leaving plenty of space for when they push through that screen again later. And then you don't have to go through the hassle of completely cutting it out.
And the rounded edges can be a little tricky. It doesn't have to be perfect. You see it's got a little bit of jag. You just want enough that you can grip it while you're pushing down the rubber. And then, like I said in the beginning, the screen holder can stretch on you, and because it's old, you just trim off that little bit of excess, and then your screen's done. And now you have a perfectly replaced screen.
Now we can get back to boondocking.
Now we can go boondocking again. No more bugs.
Take two.
This is a 2-part video.
He said, "This is a 2-part video." Announcer voice.
Did you not like it?
No, it was very announcery.
Did you not like it?
Are you not entertained? I was just asking you to tell them what you were doing because I noticed in the first part of the video how terribly bent up the frame was.
So